Hello, my dear students! Another music lesson for today. Musical instruments in the lowlands of Luzon. Our learning competencies and code for this lesson are: describes the musical characteristics of representative music selections from the lowlands of Luzon after listening. Number 2, analyzes the musical elements of some lowland, vocal, and instrumental music selections. Number 3, identifies the musical instruments and other sound sources from the lowland of Luzon. And our objectives for these lessons are: at the end of the lesson, you are expected to: letter A, identify the different instrumental music selections from the lowlands of Luzon. Letter B, distinguish the types of ensembles and solo performance situations where the musical instruments are used in the community. And letter C, value the importance of Philippine instrumental music. Okay, class, we'll have another topic for today. The music of Luzon. Particularly the instrumental music like the Rondalla, brass band, Las Piñas bamboo organ, musikong bumbong, and Pangkat Kawayan. But before anything else, we will review first how musical instruments are being classified. Hope you still remember your lesson about the elements of music. Now let's have a review about how musical instruments are being classified. Do you know what are the classifications of musical instruments? Yes, we have woodwind instruments, brass wind instruments, string instruments, and percussion instruments. I want you to know that classifying instruments has nothing to do with how the instrument is made of, or why you are tempted to call saxophone as a brass wind instrument, because it appears to be made up of brass. Doing so is incorrect. Take note, class, that the correct method to use to classify the instruments is by the way the instruments produces sound. Once the way an instrument produces sound is determined, it can be placed in one of the families of instrument. We'll start with the orchestra's 4 families of instruments. Number 1 is the string instruments. Produce sounds by causes strings to vibrate using the methods blowing, plucking, and strumming. The example for this is the violin, viola, cello, and contrabass. Second is the woodwinds. Woodwinds produces sounds by simply blowing air or wind into the instruments. Sometimes the air is used to vibrate cold reed, as what the clarinet has, or double reed, or what as the oboe or bassoon has. The air itself may even be used to vibrate and cause sound, as the flute does. The third one is the brass winds, or the brass family. It produces sounds by buzzing their lips into the mouthpieces. Some examples are trumpet, French horn, trombone, and tuba. The last family of instruments is the percussion. Percussion all produce sound by either hitting, shaking, or scraping the instruments. Some examples includes the following: snare drum, bass drum, or cymbals. Always remember, class, that the 4 families of instruments made up the orchestra, and there are some string instruments that are rarely seen in the orchestra, like the guitar, but still belongs to the string instruments. There are even lots of instruments found outside the orchestra, like the keyboard, or electronic instruments. Keyboard instruments are sometimes played with the orchestra, but they are designed as a solo instrument. They produce sounds in different ways, like in keyboard, it plays with the hands or sometimes with the feet. That includes organ, harpsichord, or piano. We also have electronic instruments. Since electronic instruments have always been around since electricity is available, they produce sounds through the uses of electronics amplification. We have the hybrid instruments such as the electronic guitar, part of string and electronically amplified. The music of Lowland Luzon is also teeming of instrument that was influenced not only by our ancestors but also the Western and Spanish. In this lesson, the learners are expected to the knowledge and skill in the classifications of the instrument and how does it function. Rondalla is a traditional Philippine string ensemble. Rondalla musicians provide music for Philippine folk dances, fiestas, and weddings. We have the different Rondalla instruments. Number 1, we have the guitar, the bandurria, laúd, octavina, bajo de uñas, and double bass. For our brass winds instruments, such as the trombone, trumpet, euphonium, sousaphone, and French horn. For the woodwinds instruments, we have the piccolo, clarinet, alto saxophone, tenor saxophone, and flute. Another one is the percussion instruments. There are a lot of examples of percussion instruments. Some of it are cymbals, snare drum, and bass drum. Membranophones are a group of instruments produce sound primarily by way of vibrating stretched membrane tapped by hands or sticks. Okay class, but before we proceed to our different activities, we will hear first the different musical instruments from the lowland of Luzon. One musical ensemble from the lowland of Luzon is the Rondalla. Rondalla is an ensemble of black instruments and sometimes with percussion. Rondalla was introduced into the Philippines when it was part of the Spanish East Indies. Another ensemble is the brass band ensemble. It is an ensemble of woodwind, brass, and percussion instruments in the Philippines, usually play in fiestas, religious, and civic celebrations. Repertoire may include folk songs, popular music, and dance music. Bands was so remarkable that every town used to have 2 or more bands. They sometimes participate and even compete in many towns. The next ensemble is the Las Piñas Bamboo Ensemble. As the Philippine national treasure, the bamboo can be found in St. Joseph's Church, Las Piñas. Another insam is the musikong bumbong insam. It is a hollow pieces of bamboo put together and serve as the orchestra's wind instrument. Lower and higher sections, the smaller the bamboo, the higher the note. Each piece of bamboo represents one note and is blown through a mouthpiece to produce the sound. Pangkat Kawayan in some is popularly known as the singing bambas of the Philippines. It is an orchestra that plays music using non-traditional bamboo instruments. Founded in 1966, it is always composed of young students who are selected from Quezon City and Manila schools. One of the Pangkat Kawayan instrument is the angklong instrument. It is a bamboo rattle tubes attached to a bamboo frame. Second is the bumbong kawayan. It is made of hollow pieces of bamboo that has been put together and serve as the orchestra's wind instruments. Next is the kalatok, a bamboo knocker, a percussion instrument made of pieces of bamboos that are strung together with pieces of bamboo with varying tones when struck by a rubber mallet. Another bamboo instrument is the bamboo marimba or the tilingating. It is made from bamboo that follows the musical scale and style of the typical xylophone. Next is the kalagong, a wind instrument that produces a hollow gong-like sound. The next one is the bamboo pipes, a small pieces of bamboo in graduated smooth tubes that has been put together by string. Another one is the bamboo flute or the tulali, made of huge, one of the smallest bamboo varieties. And the last one is the kiskis, a bamboo piece with ridges and serves as a percussion instrument. And that composes the Pangkat Kawayan ensembles. To recap our lesson, here are the different classification of musical instruments. Idiophones produce sound by the vibration of its body caused by the way they are played, such as being struck, drubbed, or shaken or plucked. Aerophones produce sound primarily by causing a body of air to vibrate because of the air blown inside. Chordophones produce sound through its vibrating string or strings that is either plucked, strummed, or used with a bow. Membranophones produce sound primarily by a way of vibrating stretched membrane tapped by hands or sticks. And electrophones produce sounds which are generated by electricity. So now, let's have our activity 1, the picture identification. Direction: identify the musical instruments according to the following different classifications: aerophone, electrophone, chordophone, idiophone, or membranophone. Write your answer in a long common band using this template. Number 1, flute. Number 2, keyboard. Number 3, guitars. Number 4, snare drum. And number 5, angklong. Now, if you're done with your activity 1, let's proceed to our activity 2, which is the write it on. Direction. List down the instruments in the Rondalla group. Write your answer on a separate sheet of paper using the same template. Now let's proceed to activity 3, word hunt. Below are words found in the word hunt. Group each word to its corresponding group where it belongs, whether it's a brass wind, woodwind, or percussion instrument. Write this on another sheet of paper following our template. Number 1, piccolo. Number 2, clarinet. Number 3, snare drum. Number 4, flute. Number 5, alto saxophone. Number 6, cymbals. Number 7, French horn. Number 8, trumpet. Number 9, tenor saxophone. Number 10, bass drum. Number 11, trombone. And number 12, euphonium. And now, let's proceed to our activity 4, pick me up. List down at least 15 musical instruments that originate from the lowland of Luzon, particularly from the musical instruments of Las Piñas bamboo organ, musikong bumbong, and Pangkat Kawayan. Write this again on a separate sheet of paper following our template. For our activity 5, the bubble map, describe in 4 words the classification of musical instruments from the different musical ensembles from the lowlands of Luzon. Copy and write this on a separate sheet of paper following our template. And now we'll have our activity 6, which is the memory check. Direction. List down the instruments in a brass band according to its classification. Write this on another sheet of paper following our template. And now for your performance. Create and improvise materials that is present in your surroundings, imitating the musical instruments from the lowland of Luzon. And make a musical piece using your improvised musical instrument to the tune of our different folk songs from the lowland of Luzon. Choose only one folk song and video yourself in preparation for the checking of your performance. Hope you learned a lot from our lesson for today's students. I hope you will continue learning music as part of our MAPEH class, because in your MAPEH class, you will be taught here on how to be a total person, a thinking, a feeling, and a working person. Goodbye, class, and see you in our next topic.